Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. A big medical headline today. The popular nasal decongestant, well, the ones sold over the counter, they don't actually relieve congestion. That's according to an FDA advisory panel. Want to get to the latest here from Fox's Greg Tinney. He has a story.
Wild, because I take cold medicine all the time, and when I get sick, and it really helps me get better.
According to the FDA, it actually may not be doing anything. An FDA advisory panel ruling Tuesday the popular over-the-counter decongestant phenylephrine is no better than a dummy pill. The drug is the key ingredient in dozens of cold and allergy medications, but recent scientific studies show it's actually ineffective in tablet form.
Why did it take all these years if it's not working, you know? It seems kind of crazy, huh?
Researchers with the University of Florida originally petitioned the FDA to take the drug off shelves in 2007 based on similar findings. The FDA, however, allowed its sale to continue pending additional research.
When they have studied it, they found that when you take a pill of 10 milligrams or more, it doesn't get up to your nose. It doesn't get there because it goes out in the liver or in the gut.
The FDA will now decide if medications with PE should be taken off store shelves, which account for more than $1 billion last year in sales for oral decongestant drug makers.
Did you feel like it helped you feel less congested?
Well, you know, who knows?
News of the ruling has many asking, what should you take if you have the sniffles? If you do need to relieve congestion, there is another option, pseudoephedrine, more commonly known as Sudafed, which is available behind the counter.
That has actually been shown to decrease congestion in individuals.
It's important to note this FDA recommendation does not apply to PE-based nasal sprays and drops. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
All right, well, I want to bring into the conversation right now. You just heard from him, Dr. Peter Ching-Hung with the University of California in San Francisco. Doctor, thanks for being with us. I guess the first question is, if people weren't taking a decongestion pill, what were they taking?
Yeah, so they were just taking a placebo. You know, if you feel and you believe that something is going to work, it's probably going to work in a proportion of people. And that's really interesting to me. I mean, personally speaking, it never worked for me. So the studies are not surprising. I looked at the studies myself, and what they showed is that in several studies, taking a dummy pill is the same as taking this particular medicine over the counter called phenylephrine or PE.
Okay, I think another question is, and then you heard from that reporter package that we just played, why did it take the FDA so long to even notice this? I mean, I've been taking medicine like that for years. So have my parents, so have everybody that I know.
Yeah, so, you know, I think there are a lot of forces that probably make it such that something stays on the market. First of all, with this particular decongestant, it was on the market as early as, I think, 1938. And back in those days, the evidence that you needed to bring something to the market isn't as strict as it is now. And now people are going back to a lot of different things and saying, you know, is it worth it? I mean, what is the data showing that it's really beneficial to people? Because people spend a lot of money, like your reporter said, it's $1 to $2 billion a year industry. So that might be part of the answer as well. The other issue that happened is that, you know, a few years ago, like people who watch Breaking Bad would know, if you use Sudafed or pseudoephedrine, that used to be over the counter, but now it's doesn't require a prescription, but you need to show your license to get like Claritin D, which has that Sudafed part in it. That actually does work. It's just the stuff that you can just get on your own on the shelf as part of, you know, that NyQuill or DayQuil. The decongestant part doesn't work, but the other parts of the combination do work.
Okay, I'm going to have a tough time saying some of these words. I am not a doctor or pharmacist. So does penneferal?
You can just call it PE.
All right, PE. Does that actually do anything? Could it be dangerous if it's not doing what doctors intended it to do?
I think that's a great point there, Carel, because I think part of the other reason why it just stayed on is because it's actually not shown to be dangerous. It doesn't work, but it's not dangerous either. And then the other parts of the combination medicine, like in NyQuill or DayQuil, it contains like some of the active ingredients for pain control and cough suppression. So all of those things work. It's just the part that decongests you don't. And the fact that it's not dangerous might be part of the inertia why it stayed on the market, together with the fact that, you know, it is important for corporations.
I did want to go back to what you just mentioned a little bit before. To get the stuff that actually works, like the Sudafed, you have to get it from a pharmacist. It's not just over the counter. You say you have to just show your license. You don't need a prescription. Is that correct?
No, you don't need a prescription. In many countries, you can get it over the counter. It's just in the US, you can use Sudafed or Sudafedrin, the one you have to go to the pharmacist to get without a prescription. You can use it to make meth. And in Breaking Bad, in the beginning, in like season 1, if you remember, the main characters were buying a lot of Sudafed to make meth in that, truck. And that's why it's restricted in the United States.
I actually do remember that. I did watch some of Breaking Bad, and I thought, well, that's really interesting because it's just something that you can buy anywhere. But I guess now you can't really make meth, so it doesn't really work out like it does in the show there. We were saying that the people that took some of these over-the-counter medicines, they experienced something that was a placebo. But do you think that any of them actually felt some type of relief? Some people call it the placebo effect, you know?
Yes, I definitely think some people felt relief because the power of the mind is actually pretty amazing. It's been shown in multiple studies for multiple other things that if you believe something is going to work, sometimes it does work for you. And I'm a believer in that as well. If you look at the studies, people did experience relief in both arms. Either they got the drug or they didn't get anything. And that's because they were believing that it worked.
I like that, the power of the mind. I believe I'll have $1 million one day. Yes, I hope it works.
Well, you're going to share some with me, Carel, if you get $1 million.
I mean, definitely, yeah. So I did want to ask you, Dr. Ching Hong, our final questions here. What happens to the medicine that does contain PE, as you told me to reference it? Do manufacturers now have to pull it from the shelves?
No, I think that's going to be a debate that will happen in the next few months. This is an FDA advisory board. It's not the FDA itself. And the FDA doesn't have to go with the advice of the FDA advisory board, which are comprised of a bunch of scientists and other members of society. So they will probably get a lot of public comment. It may go on to, Congress for debate, depending on the interests involved. And then that the final decision will be made. So it's not a guarantee that these things will be pulled. I think a lot of companies are scrambling now in case it's pulled, because then they'll have to reformulate that NyQuill or that DayQuil with something else.
And I did want to ask before I let you go, because I feel like this can be confusing to some people. It's kind of confusing to me here. When I buy DayQuil or NyQuil, it doesn't relieve congestion, or like Benadryl, for example, all those over-the-counter meds. It's not going to relieve congestion, but is it going to do any of the other things that it says on the pack that it does?
Yes, I think everything else probably, it works. Like the pain medicine, I think some of them contain Tylenol. I mean, they're really good. I think the main thing for people to know, to continue to make it safe, is not to take more than the recommended dosing on the package. Just because you don't feel decongested, and it doesn't mean that by taking more, it will be beneficial. It does have an effect on your blood vessels by making it smaller. So if you take too much, it might be too dangerous.
All right, Dr. Peter Ching Hong from the University of California over in San Francisco. Thank you so much for joining us here at Live Now from Fox to help us break this down. It's kind of complicated, kind of confusing, and a shocker for a lot of people I know. So we appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Carel.